Hello, how are you all? It is a short week this week. You have 3 days of schooling, and you have one assignment from me, and it's not that long. This assignment that you're getting today is going to be our last assignment of the term. It is it for the year. We're going to be starting it this week. I'm going to give you an overview. I'm going to give you some examples. We're going to talk about what you need to do this week, next week, and the week after. But what you're going to be doing is building a text set, and I'll explain exactly what that is to you. It is a collection of articles or videos or graphs. It's like all these things put together to teach you about a subject. In fact, just about everything we have done this year in humanities, you've gotten a text set. We looked at pictures of the Great Wall of China, and then you got a series of texts about the Great Wall of China. However we do things, it's not just one thing that I give you to learn about a subject. It'll be a video, it'll be a photograph, it'll be an article, graphs, timelines, documents, all those pieces. And we'll call these as a text set. So what you're going to develop is a teaching tool to teach about a topic that you're interested in when it comes to the Industrial Revolution and this topic we've been studying. And now it's your chance to put this together, and I'll show you how. And it's more reading, it's more like finding information and finding things that you're interested in, and just what we call curating it, which just simply means to put it all together. Like when you go to a museum, people in the museum will curate a bunch of art. They'll get different types of art about a specific subject or theme. And that's what you're doing. So this week you're going to be doing step one here. You're going to get the overview. You're going to select a topic and develop an essential question, and sort of summarize what you want to explain, what your text set to explain. And it's pretty simple. Next week, we're going to do steps 2, 3, and then finally on the last week of school, you're going to be putting it back all together, and you're going to be writing a quick summary for each of the texts that you find and what it thinks. And I'll give you some examples here in a second. So everything changes in the Industrial Revolution. Everything about how we live as people. And but let's talk about topics. So the first thing I want to say about the topic goes like this. Topics are like connected, right? So last week you read an article about the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, and I'd given you 2 articles in a text set talking about child labor, right? So the subject was child labor. One of the pieces talked was like a newspaper article written in 1930s that looked at life in the coal mines for children. And then there's the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, where there were a lot of very young people, as young as 14 and 13, who had died in that fire. Your age, okay? So the fire took place at a textile factory, right? But there was definitely child labor, and there's something to do with factory. So we had clothing, but you might have asked yourself, like, why were these kids not in school, right? So there's a subject of education comes up, and there's a connection between these two. There's a connection to work, right? And there's also a connection because people were so outraged, they came up with new laws and new regulations. And we're a democracy, so when people get really kind of riled up, they're able to affect or make things change. And also immigration. Many of the people who died in that fire were immigrations. There's elements of newspapers and communication. Like, so there are all these subjects sort of like pushed together, right? And if you wanted to talk about textile factories, you could. If you want to talk about child labor, that could be a topic you would explore. You could talk about factories. You could talk about the beginnings of public education. You could talk about why democracy was important in the Industrial Revolution. You could talk about immigration, because we're a nation of immigrants, people coming to this country. You could talk about laws. I mean, there are all these pieces that you could talk about within this topic, right, of the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, right? So topics and ideas can be connected, and often are, and that works like that. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to pick a topic. And one of the things that you got to be really careful about when you pick this topic is you can't just write about technology. I mean, technology is all these different things, right? So the first step I want you to think of is whatever you're looking at, right? Child labor, right? You might want to look at child labor in one place, right? And see if you can find information on that. Technology. You don't want to just write about all technology that came out of the Industrial Revolution. It would take you a lifetime. But to find information, right, you might narrow it down: telephone or automobile or television or something a little bit more specific. So remember, it's really important to narrow your topic down. Once you have a topic, you're going to come up with an essential question. And I know you're familiar, these are like these big questions we asked, you know, how did agriculture affect daily life in the Neolithic age was one of the questions we had at the beginning of the year. But every unit, like I'll put a question up on a board, and that is our essential question, right? Was the Great Wall of China, right? Did the costs outweigh the benefits? Right, that was one of our essential questions. Like all the time we have these essential questions. Well, it's time that you come up with your essential question. And there's a formula, right? And there's a couple tricks to this. But really you have your topic, right? Your topic is the Industrial Revolution and your subtopic, right? Right. And textile factories in New York City or coal mines and there's so many great topics, right? And all these things happened in the Industrial Revolution, like pro sports started to happen. So you could talk about baseball. The first bits of football, collegiate football started happening. Soccer in Europe, right, were devised by like these factory teams, right? One factory would play each other and organized sports start happening, right? So that could be a topic. How or why? Your questions, like good questions, are almost always how and why. It leads to like a level 3 question. It's deeper. It doesn't have one answer, right? It has lots of different facets. And then also the next thing is you want to focus it some more. So connect your question to something else going on in the world, right? Right. How did universal education, right? The idea that everyone should go to school, how is that connected to child labor, right? So next thing I want to point out, so here are some things. So you might pick something that you are interested in. I have had lots of students that are interested in World War One, as I am. So you might say something: how did the invention of the airplane affect strategy in World War One? It's a really highly focused question that you can do your research around. Cars and travel: how did the production of automobiles change how people traveled? Right. So these are examples of questions you could come up with. But I want you to pick something that you're truly interested in. So your assignment this week is to identify a topic. You're going to create an essential question around that topic. And it's like your first essential question. And then you're going to post your topic and your essential question on the discussion that I have for this week. That discussion, I want you to respond to a couple other people. I want you to like say something positive. I want you to maybe offer some advice where they could find information. Maybe you think their questions like too open, right? And it's not focused enough. Say something, right? Or you could reword their question for them and say, hey, why don't you try this for your essential question? Uh, One of the things about research questions is that they can change as you start researching, and we'll talk more about that. All right, this is the deal. When you're watching this video, it's going to be May 26th, and this is this week. You're just coming up with your topic and essential question. Next week, you're going to find sources for your text set. You're going to start trying to find text that can help answer your essential question, right? Doesn't have to be one text that answers everything, right? But things that explore that subject. And that's what you're going to be doing next week. The week after, you're going to complete your text set. We're going to talk about how you're going to create citations and you're going to write summaries. And that's the last week of school. June 11th, last day of school, all work is due. Okay. So this week, essential question. Next week, you go out and do your research. And that last week, you're just going to put it all together and turn it in. And you're going to be good. Okay. So thank you. I was bored with it. I started doing a slideshow earlier. I was like, man, there's got to be a more exciting theme in the world. So I typed in downloadable themes for Google Slides, and I came up with this, and I had a lot of fun using it. We're going to have a Zoom meeting on Wednesday at 2, and you can email me as always. But before we go, I want to show you a couple text sets that students of mine did last year, okay? And the first one, and this is the exact same sheet that you guys are going to be getting in a little bit, right? And it has 3 columns. The first column is where you're going to do citation. We will show you how to do it. It's fairly easy. We'll walk you through how to put this all together. And for the most part, it's like copy and paste into this sheet. The next line of your text set is you're just going to put in links. So here they include a couple photographs and a news article and a couple articles from World Book, and they went out and found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sources, and that was it. And then they wrote a summary explaining what I should be able to learn, or anyone should be able to learn from this source. So they evaluated the text. And all those pieces answer his questions. How long did it take for child labor laws we have today to be created? Okay, that's the essential question they came up with, and it's pretty good. Let me show you one more. Here is a student I had, said, how did the Industrial Revolution affect the development of weapons? And did the same thing here. And they broke it down into chemical weapons, airplanes, machine guns, camouflage, tanks, submarines, and put all that together. So this is really what you're going to end up doing. But all you have to worry about this week is coming up with a topic and essential question. I hope that's clear. I'm here to help. I'll talk to you guys on Wednesday.